I never thought a lonely CEO could find a mother for his daughter in a shivering nurse. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I stood there, heart pounding, staring at the crumpled hospital form in my hands. My palms were slick with sweat. Every detail that day seemed to sharpen, fraying my already shattered nerves. Her name was Clara. A nurse with wild, untamed hair and eyes filled with flickering uncertainty. She walked into my life like a ghost, trembling with a secret she couldn't contain. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows on the walls. I could hear the echoes of distant cries from patients. A sense of dread hung heavy in the air. My daughter, Emma, had been in and out of the hospital for weeks. The medical team worked tirelessly, but even hope felt like a distant memory. Clara seemed different. She had an instinctual warmth beneath her shivering exterior. Each time she touched Emma's tiny hand, I felt an ache deep within, as if she was piecing together my broken family while shrouded in her own uncertainty. The whispers around us grew louder, filled with speculations about why she trembled so violently when she was near. Was it fear, or something more? I could hear the murmurs behind closed doors, fragments of conversations. Her past is troublesome, eyes full of shadows. Each word clawed at my stomach, tightening the knot of desperation that had taken residence in my heart. And still, I couldn't shake the feeling that Clara held something profound, something that felt exponentially larger than us both. As days blurred together, I watched the way her smile faltered, caught in the waves of her own memories. Would she ever let me in? Was she a savior or a specter? My thoughts spiraled, gnawing at me like rats in the night. One evening, the rain poured relentlessly. The sound battered the windows, drowning out the tired moans of the hospital. I saw a flash of vulnerability in Clara's eyes as our gazes met. Something whispered beneath my skin like the touch of a long-lost love. She hesitated, the tension palpable. I reached out, desperate to connect. "What are you hiding?" I asked, my voice a mere tremor in the stillness. Then, at that very moment, the lights flickered once more and the power surged back to life. The world outside burst into an inferno of lightning. My breath hitched. Clara gasped, stepping back. I could see the raw fear painted on her features. Was it fear of the storm, or did it run deeper, a fear of becoming part of the chaos in my life? In that suspended silence, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. I clutched Emma's small hand tightly, ready to plunge into whatever dark mystery Clara carried with her. As a deafening clap of thunder shook the building, I knew I had to dig deeper to unravel whatever tangled threads bound us together in this storm. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The storm raged outside, its ferocity echoing the turmoil swirling within me. Clara stumbled back from the bedside, her eyes wide with something unnameable, a mix of fear and an urgent longing to retreat into shadows. I glanced at Emma, her fragile form swaddled in layers of blankets, oblivious to the emotional tempest enveloping us. She needed strength, she needed hope. And perhaps, so did Clara. "Clara," I said gently, pushing aside my own uncertainty. "Please, talk to me. You don't have to be afraid." My words hung in the air, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Clara hesitated, her lips trembling as if the weight of her secret pressed down on her like an anchor. I could sense the barrier she had built, thicker than the rain pounding against the glass. She started, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can't." My heart sank. I wanted to yell, to shake her until the truth spilled out. But in that moment, I saw something in her that made me pause. A flicker of vulnerability, like a candle fighting against the wind. "You're not alone," I urged. "Whatever it is, you can share it with me." She looked down, her fingers tangled in the hem of her scrubs. The tears brimming in her eyes broke something deep within me. Here I was, a CEO drowning in the depths of my own despair, reaching out to a woman who seemed equally lost. It was an unexpected bond, forged in the chaos of our lives. I used to be someone else, she finally admitted, her voice breaking as the words tumbled out. I thought I could escape my past, but it haunts me. I can't risk hurting your daughter or you. Fury flared in my chest, not toward her, but at the unseen forces that had bound us both with such oppressive chains. Clara, you're not defined by your past. None of us are. We're each fighting our own battles. The air between us shifted, rippling with the hope that maybe, just maybe, we could piece our fragmented lives together. It was a small flicker, a glimmer of light through the dark, wind-lashed branches of fate. Just as I reached out again, our connection strengthening, the door burst open. A nurse shouted Clara's name, urgency threading through her voice. Clara. Emma's doctor needs you right now. My heart plummeted. The moment, so fragile and tentative, shattered under the weight of reality. Clara's gaze hardened as if she had thrown up walls overnight. She nodded to the nurse, her eyes darting back to mine, desperate yet conflicted. You'll be right back, she said, her voice steadier than I felt. As Clara rushed out, I was left grasping at the fragile threads of emotion still clinging between us. Time seemed to stretch and contract as I sat there, holding my daughter's hand. Emma's quiet breaths were a stark contrast to the chaos around us, a reminder that innocence remained amidst the storm, and then I understood the urgency in Clara's eyes wasn't only about her work, it was about her fear of becoming entangled in a life she felt she couldn't comprehend, one that already burdened me with its heartache. Minutes turned into eternity. Doubt crept in like an unwelcome guest, whispering that maybe I had misread her completely. Perhaps her past wasn't something she could escape after all. Perhaps it was me who was holding her back. Just then, the door cracked open, and a tall figure emerged, a man, dressed in a crisp suit that mirrored my own. He stepped inside with an air of authority and urgency that immediately sent a shudder through my chest. The resemblance to Clara was unmistakable. Where's Clara? He demanded, a mixture of concern and authority threading through his voice. I need to speak to her. It's urgent. A new layer of tension settled heavily over the room, sealing my fate in a way I could not have anticipated. I sensed that whatever this man had to say was tied to the secrets Clara had withheld. Just as I was about to reply, the storm outside escalated, the thunder rumbling like an ominous warning. Who are you? I asked, rising to my feet, every instinct on high alert. He turned to me, his eyes flickering with a truth I officially feared was about to unravel everything. I'm her brother, he said, voice smooth but laced with something darker. And if you care about Clara, you need to listen to me. There's something you don't know. In that moment, with the storm crashing outside and the chill of uncertainty washing over me, I felt the ground slip away. Little did I know, we were standing on the precipice of a revelation that would shatter the fragile threads we had begun to weave, plunging us into a reality none of us were prepared to face. The faces in the room blurred in the tempest of my thoughts. All I could focus on was the man claiming to be Clara's brother, his declaration echoing like thunder in my mind. The palpable tension wrapped around us like storm clouds, heavy and electric. What do you mean? I demanded, my voice cracking slightly. The confusion mixed with an underlying fear clawed at my insides. I wasn't ready to confront the truth, not when Emma was fighting her own battles. He took a step closer, the authority radiating from him demanding attention. There's something Clara hasn't told you, something vital about her past. It affects both of you, her and your daughter. Panic bubbled within me. If it affects Emma, then you need to tell me now. He hesitated, glancing toward the door as if expecting Clara to burst back in at any moment. She thinks she's protecting you, but the truth is it could destroy you both. The storm raged outside, mirroring the chaos spilling within me. Just spit it out, I insisted, my voice low but firm. What could possibly be worse than what we're already facing? The man took a deep breath, his expression softening momentarily. Clara was involved in something dangerous. Something that could tie her back to people who won't hesitate to find her. And they won't stop until they get what they want. The words sliced through the storm inside me. You can't be serious. This isn't some kind of movie plot. But deep down, the dread crept in, entwining itself with the threads of hope we'd just started to weave. What kind of danger? I felt my voice quiver, recognizing the tremor of despair threatening to break through. What did she do? It's not just her, he said, voice dropping to a near whisper. It involves the hospital. There are reasons she's been so closed off, reasons she feels unworthy of love or happiness. Hurt flashed through my chest like a dagger. You think I care about her past? What matters is that she's here now, trying to help my daughter. Is it that simple? He stepped closer, his eyes intense. Her connection to this place could put you and Emma at risk. You don't know who you're dealing with. As anger swept over me, I was pulled back to the image of Clara's tear-streaked face, the vulnerability that had flickered in her eyes. I couldn't bear the thought of pulling her deeper into this treacherous web. Where is she? I demanded. What will happen when she finds out you're here? Don't involve her. He snapped back, a fierce intensity breaking through his calm exterior. You don't understand. She'll try to shield you, to send you away. But this danger, it isn't something you can outrun. I came here to protect her and to warn you about what's coming. They'll find her, and they'll expect you to lead them right to her. I held my breath, grappling with the enormity of his words while my heart tugged toward Clara, the woman who had been a stranger just weeks ago but had become a lifeline for my daughter and me. What are you saying? I pressed, my voice trembling with urgency. What can I do? I don't know, he admitted, his expression softening again. But if you truly care about Clara, you need to get her out of here. Now. Before they trace her to you. Right then, the door opened, and Clara walked in, a breathless look of confusion washing over her face as she caught sight of her brother. The air thickened with doubt and fear, a chasm widening between us. I could feel the weight of secrets hanging in the air, on the cusp of unraveling. Samuel, she said, her voice barely a whisper, steadying herself against the doorframe. What are you doing here? My heart raced. The flicker of connection we had built began to dim, uncertainty shrouding the fragile hope I clung to. Emma lay in her hospital bed, her breathing steady, but the storm outside was now a whisper of the turmoil that threatened to unleash at any moment within these four walls. Clara, we need to talk, Samuel urged, urgency in his voice. And I don't think we have much time. Now we stood there, suspended in the air, the storm raging both outside and within us. I grappled once more with the fear of what was to come, desperate not to lose the chance of connection I had found in Clara. But the truth loomed, dark and impenetrable, ready to shatter everything we had yet to build. In that instant, I understood we weren't just navigating a storm, we were on the edge of a crisis that would alter the very fabric of our lives. A secret was brewing that could unravel all I had left to hold on to. As the thunder rumbled once more, a chilling realization dawned on me. Clara was not just a nurse. She was tethered to a past that was already reaching for us, and our fate felt more intertwined than ever. A truth I had to embrace or risk losing it all, perhaps even Emma herself. The air crackled with tension, and I felt the chasm of uncertainty widen as Clara's eyes flitted between her brother and me. The fragile sanctuary we had built crumbled in an instant, leaving only raw, exposed vulnerability in its wake. Samuel, Clara started, her voice trembling, you shouldn't have come here. Not now, but I had to, Clara, he countered, frustration slicing through his tone. You're in danger. They've found a way to trace you. It's only a matter of time before they come here. She shook her head, her cheeks flushed with a mix of anger and hurt. I can deal with this myself. You don't know what you're talking about. My heart raced as I felt the weight of their unspoken history pressing down on me. Thoughts of Emma lying in that sterile hospital bed flickered through my mind, and the fear of her waking up to a world tainted by the ghosts of Clara's past threatened to engulf me. Clara, please, I pleaded softly, stepping toward her, as though moving toward her would create a barrier against the storm. If there's something going on, we need to face it together. Emma needs us both. I thought you were only worried about her, Clara said, pain flashing across her features. But now you're hiding behind her? You want to keep your distance? I can't put you in that position, Clara, I breathed, grappling with the distance between us that Samuel had just widened. This affects all of us. You can't shut me out. We've come too far together. If it's dangerous, let's confront it. Together, Samuel's gaze darted between us, and in that moment, I sensed the fierce protectiveness he felt over his sister vying against the kinship Clara and I had forged. But the value of our makeshift family hung in the balance, threatening to crumble under the weight of truth. Together? Clara whispered, almost to herself, the word barely breaking the surface of her thoughts. Tears glistened in her eyes as she stared ahead, a painful whirlpool of regret and fear swirling within her. I don't want to pull you down into my darkness, nor do I want to let you face it alone, I replied, fighting against my own fear of having my world shattered once again. It's okay to need help, Clara. Before she could respond, the door swung open violently, and a nurse rushed in, her face pale. Clara, we need you. There's a situation in the ER. Clara nodded, her focus snapping back to her professional armor, but I could see her resolve wavering. She looked at Samuel and then back at me, a silent battle of emotions enveloping her. Go, I urged. Do what you need to do. I'll be right here. As she slipped past me, I caught her wrist gently. I'm here. No matter what comes, I'm here. Her breath caught, and in that fleeting moment, we shared a bond that transcended the weight of secrets. But the moment was shattered as she walked out, leaving me with the palpable gravity of what lay ahead. I turned to Samuel, who watched me with an expression of conflicted emotions. You don't understand, he began, frustration ebbing under layers of worry. You think this is about Clara? It's deeper than that. Whatever is coming, it doesn't just endanger her. It's about Emma too. What have you not told me? I snapped, scanning his face for clarity. What do you know? You say they are looking for her. Who are they? A group from her past, he said, his voice lowering, urgency rippling through his words. They're relentless. They've been searching for anyone connected to her. I swallowed hard, every piece of clarity feeling like a blade against my skin. The grip of dread tightened around my heart. What do they want with her? The same thing they always want: control and revenge, he replied, each word stinging. They believe Clara holds information that could destroy them. Information that links back to the hospital. They will stop at nothing to make sure she's silenced. The storm outside had calmed, but the tempest within me roared louder. No. Not with Emma caught in the crossfire. Samuel looked me dead in the eye, the concern swimming in his features sharpened with the weight of an alarming truth. You need to prepare for the worst. If Clara isn't careful, she'll lead them right to you. And when that happens, they'll consider Emma collateral damage. Something icy passed through my veins, the implications of his words setting my mind reeling. They were not just threats, they were promises of destruction. My pulse quickened, and I struggled to maintain my grip on sanity as hope fought to survive within the cracks of fear. What do we do? I demanded. How do we keep Emma safe? Samuel's jaw clenched, the magnitude of the situation pressing down on him. We need to get Clara out of here. His eyes narrowed, a plan forming before me. Before she realizes the danger she poses, before it's too late. As his words hung in the air, a fresh wave of trepidation flooded my chest. The very thought of Clara being pulled into the depths of danger sent chills down my spine. But how? Well, need to act fast, he said, urgency reigniting his calm demeanor. Before she can try to protect you both. We're facing a storm, one that could tear apart everything you love. Just as he finished speaking, Clara returned, her eyes alight with a weariness I hadn't seen before. They had shared looks, unspoken conversations passing between them, and now the storm felt nearer than ever, looming ominously on the horizon. The heartbreaking realization washed over me. Clara might be the key to untangling this web of threats, yet I feared what unearthing the secrets hidden in her past might do to us all. Clara, I breathed, hoping to pull her back closer as the tension thickened once again. We need to talk, but the last words hung like a guillotine as I caught Clara's gaze, and an unexpected flicker of resolve shone through her eyes. It was out there now, an indelible mark of a storm building within each of us, a truth too torrid to face, but too powerful to ignore. And then, breaking through our moment, the shrill sound of a phone ringing jolted us back into reality. The dark truth clawed closer, and for a split second, we were brought to the brink of something unfathomable. As I reached for the phone, a foreboding sense pulsed deep within me. This call would change everything. The phone felt heavy in my hand, its shrill call echoing against the walls of the room, reverberating like a warning shot through the tangled web of our lives. Clara's gaze pierced me, a mixture of anticipation and anxiety etched across her features. I prayed it was something benign, an update on Emma, a glimmer of hope in a universe that had felt cruel and dark. Instead, dread settled deep in my stomach. I answered, her eyes fixed on mine, challenging me to convey solace in the face of impending uncertainty. Hello? I said, my voice barely registering above the erratic pounding of my heart. Is this Max Thompson? A clipped voice inquired, sharp and clinical. My brow furrowed. I recognized it but couldn't place it. Yes, who is this? I replied, throat dried out. I represent. I didn't allow the man to finish. Are you from the hospital? I asked, heart racing as I prepared for more bad news. Clara stepped closer, a frown drawing her brows together, and Samuel's tension radiated from the corner of the room. This isn't a good time, I said, my instincts screaming it could never be a good time. Mr. Thompson, I need to discuss your daughter's condition, the voice continued, the urgency curling around the words. It's about the surgery, the complications. My heart dropped. What complications? I demanded, fear twisting my insides. Exactly the reason I'm calling. We've hit a roadblock with the latest treatments, and there's a dire need for decisions to be made. If you could please come down to the hospital. I cut him off. What do you mean decisions? Is she okay? A pause hung in the air, thick and suffocating. There have been unforeseen challenges. We need your consent to pursue alternative methods. The request sat like a lead weight on my chest, the air around me thickening as I struggled to inhale. Are you telling me she's in danger? Your daughter's condition is critical, and while we're doing everything within our means, I must be transparent. You need to come in now? I stammered, numbness seeping into my bones. Yes, immediately the line went dead before I could muster another word, my mind crashing into chaos. Clara moved to grab my arm, but all I felt was the world tilting beneath me. What did he say? Clara's voice trembled with concern. Samuel, too, advanced closer, ridden with worry. Emma. The name broke off my lips, heavy and sorrowful. There's a complication, something serious. They need me at the hospital. Clara's eyes widened, instantly shifting from confusion to alarm. You need to go, Max. Right now, will you come with me? I asked, desperation clawing at my mind. If I was to face that abyss of uncertainty, I needed her strength. Of course, she said, even as fear flickered across her features. But we need to ensure Samuel is safe. I can take care of myself, he interjected, uncertainty curling in his voice. But if you think facing all this together would help, I won't let either of you face it alone, I vowed, finding resolve in the face of spinning darkness. Well, stay united, no matter what. As we rushed out of the hospital room, Clara and I exchanged a glance filled with unspoken emotions, a bond forged through unshed tears and shared fears. We wove through sterile hallways, the reality of our situations intertwining like vines around our hearts, each step echoing the weight of our unsaid promises. As we neared the pediatric ward, an urgent buzz of medical personnel surrounded us, their pale faces futuristic and fast-moving. They flitted around with a kind of detached urgency that froze the air, my heart a metronome against the cacophony pulsing in the atmosphere. Just as we approached the nurse's station, a familiar figure turned. It was Rachel, an old colleague of Clara's, who blanched upon seeing us. Clara. Max. Rachel, what's happening? Clara asked, urgency lacing her tone, her expression darkened, fear flaring in her eyes. There are things you all don't know. It's not just Emma's surgery I'm worried about. There are rumors spreading about your past, Clara. They're saying that whoever is after you is linked to Emma's condition. Clara's body went rigid, the very words tearing at her. What do you mean? It's not just about the information they want, Rachel hurried on, her voice lowered as though the walls themselves could be listening. They think your medical knowledge might expose a cover-up. And Emma, she's somehow caught in the middle of it all. I felt the ground fall away again. Emma was right there, vulnerable and fragile, and somehow through Clara, dangerous, too. Before Clara could form a response, emergency alarms blared through the hospital. Code blue. My heart plummeted, every fear I had wrapped around me like a vice. Go. I shouted, adrenaline surging as I grabbed Clara's hand. We have to get to Emma. As we sprinted down the hall, the reality of our situation bared itself. Every step could lead us closer to either salvation or destruction. But as we reached the doorway to the operating room, we were abruptly stopped by a security officer. I'm sorry, you can't enter, please, that's my daughter in there. I pleaded, fear strangling my voice. Step back, sir. He commanded, and I felt the gravity of his stance like an anchor in a turbulent sea. Just then, I noticed Clara's expression shift. Her hand trembled in mine, a sudden realization flooding her features. Max, I think they're coming. They know we're here. Time paused, an unfathomable silence shrouding us, and beneath it lay an undeniable truth that would sever our fragile network of hopes and dreams. But before I could respond, the doors swung open behind the officer, and the last shred of clarity shattered as a man stepped forward, a man cloaked in shadows, a survivor from Clara's past I recognized all too well. And, as a new storm brewed within the operating room, I realized everything I thought I knew was about to change forever. The sterile scent of antiseptic mixed with the oppressive weight of dread as I stood frozen before the looming figure. Each pulse of adrenaline reverberated through my body, an instinctive fight or flight response lying in wait. Clara's breath quickened beside me, her fingers entwined with mine, both desperate and anchored in that moment where everything hung in uncertainty. "Max," she whispered, a tremor of fear threading through her voice. Who was that?" A fleeting recognition jolted through my mind, mingled with disbelief. Jeffrey Dalton. His presence felt like a cold wind that swept through the hospital's warm halls, stirring up shadows I thought had long since subsided. Chain ties of the past clashed against the urgent present. The man whose actions had once destroyed lives stood now, a harbinger of secrets yet to be unveiled. "Clara," I said, my voice low and steady despite my racing heart, "I need you to stay calm." Jeffrey's lips curled into an almost mocking smile, his eyes glinting with a dark intensity as he surveyed us. "It's been a long time, Clara. You've been doing quite well, it seems." His tone dripped with condescension, but there was something deeper beneath his surface, a manipulative power at play. "I don't have time for this, Jeffrey." Clara's voice broke with a hint of rage. The quiet strength that usually surrounded her began to dissolve into the whirlwind he conjured. "Let us through. My daughter is in there. I am afraid I can't do that." His casual dismissal was like a balloon punctured by a pinprick of reality. "Your daughter is the least of our concerns right now." "Our concerns?" I echoed, fury igniting within me. "What do you mean?" His gaze flicked to me, appreciation lacing his voice as he considered my involvement in Clara's life. "Interesting how the past collides with the present, isn't it? You want to protect her, yet you have no idea what you're up against." "What do you want?" Clara shot back, each word a beat of defiance strung on the thread of desperation. His smile widened, revealing the jagged edges of a predator. "Oh, it's not me you should be worried about. It's the implications of your knowledge. You see, Clara, you may unwittingly possess something that puts both you and Emma at great risk. Those complications they spoke about, it's far more than just a botched surgery." Uncertainty clotted my insides, unsettling fears rising in waves, suffocating the hope I clung to. What did he mean? What could Clara possibly know that put our daughter's well-being in jeopardy? Clara took a step closer, her voice steady despite quaking resolve. "If you've got something to say, say it. We're not afraid of you." "Courage is admirable, but stupidity is dangerous," he replied, his eyes glinting with cruel amusement. "You think you can hide from those who really control the narrative? You've made enemies, Clara, and now they're reaching out to touch what's dear to you." A chill ran through me. The tendrils of dread woven into his words stirred the same dark fear I'd felt since Emma fell ill. I thought I was shielding Clara and our daughter, but this shadow pulled tighter, cutting into our sanctuary. "Let us speak privately if you want to save the girl," Jeffrey said, lifting an eyebrow. "Your time is running thin. Choose wisely." "Never," Clara spat defiantly, but I felt her resolve begin to fray against the tide of reality. I looked back at the operating room doors, fear and desperation pooling within me. The seconds stretched on like minutes, each heartbeat echoing a growing dread in my mind. A nurse wearing a weary expression rushed past us, rushing to an awaiting doctor who was no doubt enlisted for emergency measures in the operating room. "Code Blue," she murmured, panic flashing across her face. The blaring alarms intensified, rippling dread through the sterile hall, a signal of how perilous time had become. My pulse quickened. "Enough of this!" I shouted, the sound slicing through the tension. "We're getting Emma, not without knowing the truth," Jeffrey countered, the calmness of his demeanor an unsettling contrast to the chaos surrounding us. "You may think you're fighting for her, but without the right knowledge, you'd be marching her straight into the fire." Clara's gaze slid toward me, vulnerability flickering beneath her bravado, and in that moment, ensnared in a web of hesitation and fear, I felt the tethering of our past weigh heavily on the choices we had to make today. "Max," she said softly, her voice a fragile whisper, "what do we do?" An unsettling quiet stretched between us, the rush of medical professionals and the threat looming in Jeffrey's calculating eyes blending into a singular reality. The stakes had never felt higher, every breath laced with the weight of decisions not yet made, and uncertainty, heavier than lead, curdling my stomach to I won't let them take away Emma. We're going in, I declared, resolve hardening with the intensity of fear and unwavering determination to protect my family at all costs. As I began to step towards the doors, Clara stopped me, her eyes fierce and resolute. If there's a chance we can protect Emma and ourselves from this man's shadows, we have to seize it, are you sure? I questioned, consumed by urgency. I'd rather expose the truth than remain shackled by the past, she affirmed, her hand tightening around mine, anchoring me as I wavered, and just as we were about to turn towards Jeffrey, his expression morphed into something darker. You think you can handle it? The cost of knowledge is steep. Do you want to bear that weight? Our world tilted once more, but amidst the chaos, I finally found Clarice. A flicker of hope glimmered in the shadows. But the choice felt heavier than life itself, and so, with hearts racing, we stood on the precipice of a truth that would either shatter us or set us free. But before we could decide, the unmistakable sound of a scuffle echoed down the hallway, pushing us toward a revelation that neither of us was prepared for, a new chilling reality that would tip the fragile balance of our hopes. The air felt electric as the echoes of the scuffle intensified, drawing closer with every heartbeat that thundered through my chest. I turned to Clara, the anguish on her face mirroring my own. In that suffocating moment of uncertainty, our choices felt burdened not just by the looming presence of Jeffrey but by a cascade of unknown threats unraveling dangerously close. Stay here, I said, though my voice was shaky, unsure if my assertion held any weight against the chaos brewing just beneath our skin. Clara's grip tightened around my wrist, her eyes pleading. Max, we can't just wait. Whatever is happening could threaten Emma even more. Before I could devise a safer plan, a figure rushed into our line of sight, zigzagging through the erratic crowd. It was the nurse from earlier, her face pallid, eyes wide with fear. There's been a complication in the OR. The child, her voice wavered, cascading downward into a trepidation that hinted at the unfathomable. Emma? I interjected, desperation lacing my tone. What about her? The nurse halted in front of us, her breath coming in quick gasps. They're struggling to stabilize her. They need, she faltered, seeming to struggle against the weight of what she was about to say. They need to know about the genetic predisposition. Only you can provide it. A wave of dread washed over me, cleansing the fleeting moment of hope. What genetic predisposition? My mind raced, piecing together fragments of a horrific pattern I had long tried to forget. Clara's past had its own tangled roots, and I felt the shadows of her history creeping in, wrapping around us like suffocating vines. The nurse pressed her hands together, trembling slightly, revealing that she bore the storm of secrets longing to escape. The tests from years ago, they indicate a rare condition. Emma has it now, and without the right intervention, she could face severe complications. It's linked to her family's medical history. My breath caught, and the world seemed to narrow to that single moment. Clara's face turned as pale as the fluorescent lights above. What do you mean? She whispered, looking between the nurse and me, seeking answers that felt like impossible weights stacked upon her shoulders. There's a chance she might not survive if we don't act quickly, the nurse said, urgency pooling in her eyes. But you need to trust us. The people who control that information are dangerous, and Jeffrey knows it too. He's been playing a game that has more at stake than you realized. I could feel Clara's resolve harden, her spirit rising from the ashes of fear. Well, trust you, she said, her voice stronger than it had been moments before. What do we need to do? Jeffrey's laugh echoed down the hallway, mocking and sinister, the sound curling around us, entwining with the panic in the air. You think the truth will set you free? Choose your allies wisely, Clara. The moment you expose that information, you're choosing to wear a target on your back. Enough! I shouted, the fire of protectiveness igniting within me again. You don't scare us, Jeffrey, yet as my boldness surged, an icy chill shot through the air, a stark reminder of the hidden dangers lurking in the shadows. The uncertainty of the choices we had left was punctuated by the nurse's fragmented information. Clara took a determined step forward, inhaling deeply as if inhaling courage. We won't let you manipulate this, she challenged, the fight in her voice igniting a flicker of hope within me. But just as the determination took root, a doctor emerged from the operating room, his expression grave. The storm clouds of reality darkened the landscape we had once believed secure. Are you family? He posed, his eyes scanning us both, seeking affirmation in the chaos. Yes. I nearly shouted, clutching Clara's arm. What's going on with our daughter? Emma is stable for now, but her condition remains critical. Without the right medical history, we can't allocate the proper treatment she desperately needs." He paused, scanning us both again. "Do you know anything that could help?" "The doctors are fighting an uphill battle against timed genetic predisposition," the nurse spoke up, urgency weaving through her words. "She needs the family history." Anything? Clara's eyes darkened with realization, the shadows of her past flickering through her expression. She stammered, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed those memories could swallow us whole, suffocating any chance of survival for Emma. Then, as if struck by lightning, Clara took a deep breath, breaking through the suffocating weight of fear. "I can do this," she said. "I have to." The decision weighed heavily in the air, and I felt the ground beneath us shift as a reality I couldn't fully comprehend rushed toward us. A chain of secrets and truths long buried now clawing their way to the surface, threatening to unravel everything we had tried to shield. "Clara, wait." I reached out, my own fears surging. What if? But before I could voice my protests, she turned away from me, fire ignited in her eyes, their glint a mixture of defiance and desperation. "I'll do anything for our daughter, Max. I owe her that much." The doctor narrowed his gaze, assessing her resolve, aware of the risks that lay in accessing the information Clara carried like a fragile shard of glass. "If this falls into the wrong hands, there's no time," she interrupted, her voice rising with fervor. "Where do I need to go?" As Clara prepared to plunge into the depths of her secrets, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay ahead might not only threaten our daughter's life but could also unearth buried truths that neither of us were ready to confront. A firestorm loomed just at the edge of our steps. The storm bearing down on our family was far from over. And then, as she turned her back to me, the door behind Jeffrey swung open and revealed the shadowy figure of a man who had haunted Clara's past but had never crossed the threshold of our lives. His face revealed years wrapped in sorrow and regret, but what unexplainable circumstances had brought him here, into the very heart of our desperate plea to save Emma? The room spiraled with questions, and as the revelation washed over me, my breath caught the weight of choices made and paths chosen were about to crash down upon us, tipping the delicate balance of hope into uncertainty once more. The sterile walls of the hospital felt as though they were closing in, each fluorescent bulb above us humming a tune of urgency and dread. I barely registered the flicker of hope in Clara's eyes as she confronted the abyss of her past, nor did I notice the shadowy figure at first. It wasn't until I caught the full weight of his presence that my focus sharpened, and the room around us warped into a tumultuous atmosphere of countless unsaid words and heavy memories. He stepped forward, hesitance etched into his every movement, and I felt my heartbeats echo in the silence that engulfed us. It was Marcus, her estranged brother, a face I hadn't expected to see, and certainly not here, now, amid the storm raging around us. Time seemed to freeze as the years of family silence crumbled, and for a heartbeat, the attachment forged by blood whispered louder than our urgent reality. "Clara," he started, but the sound of her name hung in the air between us, both a lament and an invitation. "What are you doing here?" Clara managed, her voice quavering beneath layers of disbelief and suppressed anger. "You shouldn't have come. Emma needs us, our family," he said, the weight of a history we had both tried to bury flickering in his soulful eyes. "Two can help." At that moment, the doctor shifted uncomfortably, watching the exchange as though he were a spectator to a tragic play. "Please, we don't have time for this," he urged. "We need information to stabilize Emma." With disbelief warring against the desperate urgency that tugged at Clara's heart, she felt the glue of her past threatening to rip open, returning to her life like a tempest. She hesitated. "I don't know if I can." "Clara, you have to," I insisted, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "You owe it to Emma." Marcus took a cautious step closer, his plea genuine, overwhelmed with uncertainty but driven by love, the same love that might save Emma's life. "You don't have to walk alone. You don't have to face this without me." Her defenses faltered for the briefest moment, a flicker of vulnerability catching in her eyes. But the clarity of what was at stake echoed in the doctor's expression, jolting her back to the immediacy of it all. "Fine. I'll do it. Just tell me what I need to do," she said, the fire returning to her voice, but before the doctor could respond, Jeffrey interjected, the scorn in his voice palpable as he continued, "And just what makes you think that living in the shadows of betrayal will help your daughter? Marcus is the last person you should want as an ally." Clara stepped away from Marcus, fear creeping back into her demeanor, but I felt the turmoil of my heart betray my thoughts. What dark secrets tethered Clara's family to Jeffrey's sinister grip? The way he threw around both their names painted a picture of a long, entangled web of sorrow. I can't let him manipulate you, I warned, shaking my head. You need to trust yourself, not old ties of the past, but Clara turned, suddenly fierce, standing her ground in the quivering light of the hospital. I have to face this, Max. For Emma. I will not let you dictate what I can or cannot do for her. For us, the air turned electric once more, a confrontation brewing against the backdrop of our compelling reality. We're running out of time. The doctor snapped, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. In that moment, I understood that this would be the decisive turn, a moment that could change everything, not just for Emma, but for us, for our future as a family fighting against an unseen enemy. My heart ached within my chest as I considered Marcus and the shadows he carried with him. Though he was family, my gut twisted at the thought of letting him so close. Marcus, I said firmly, if you care about our daughter, you need to tell us everything. His eyes widened, undoubtedly sensing the weight of the demand. I came because I was warned that you might need support. There are forces at play that make this all too dangerous. Dangerous how? What do you know? Clara's voice trembled, a tentative tone but resolute in searching for answers. Before he could respond, a deafening crash reverberated down the corridor, a stinging reminder of the chaos that lurked just beyond the sterile, white walls. An alarm blared, echoing the haunting reality that time slipped through our fingers like grains of sand. Emergency lockdown. We need to evacuate, shouted a voice from the end of the hallway. Panic surged through the hospital, the sense of dire urgency infecting the air as families scrambled in all directions. In that moment, the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Jeffrey was here, his Machiavellian grip encroaching, and chaos was his weapon. Get Emma's history while you can, I shouted, adrenaline surging through me as I turned to Clara. We have to act now. And Marcus, you don't have a choice. You're in this whether you like it or not. But just as Clara took a step toward the operating room, hesitance gripping her once more, the door swung open painfully wide, revealing a group of men in dark uniforms, eyes masked with determination and authority. They had found us. The punch of shock stayed heavy in my chest, the echoes of trapped breaths around me crescendoing, and time stood still as Clara turned, taut with panic, the world crashing around her as she saw the faces of uncertainty drawing closer. In that instant, the entire tapestry we had woven began to unravel, and the realization settled heavily upon us: truth, lies, love, and sacrifice. Nothing would ever be the same again. The sterile walls of the hospital had transformed into a battleground, the atmosphere crackling with the tension of unspoken fears. As the shadowy figures moved closer, I felt Clara stiffen beside me, her breath hitching like a thread ready to snap. The uncertainty in her eyes mirrored my own. We were treading on ground we couldn't comprehend, amidst dangers lurking just out of sight. The men in dark uniforms advanced, blocking the hallway with their imposing presence. One of them stepped forward, a clipboard clasped tightly against his side, as if it were a shield. We're here for Marcus, he called, his voice void of emotion, each word weighted with authority. Marcus turned pale, his features betraying him, and I wondered what else he had concealed beneath the facade of brotherly concern. You've got the wrong person, he stammered, glancing between Clara and me, fear radiating off him in waves. Stay back. Clara shouted, her voice trembling yet fierce, the protective instincts of a mother igniting within her. You'll have to go through me first. Their steely gazes shifted toward her, disbelief and menace intertwining in their expressions. Ma'am, this is a matter of security. We're under orders to detain him. Security? I echoed, my heart racing. What has he done? The man with the clipboard arched an eyebrow, his lips curling slightly as though amused by my confusion. I can't share that information. But make no mistake, whatever it is, it's serious, and it's tied to the case you're involved in. The girl's life is at stake. We don't have time for this. I could feel the weight of Clara's hand reach for mine, the warm touch grounding me against the rising tide of chaos. I know him, she said, her voice low but loud enough to carry across the uncertainty. If he's here, it's because he wants to help. The room grew silent, a collective breath held, while Marcus' eyes flicked back to his sister. Clara, please, he murmured, desperation clawing at his tone. You have to trust me this time. But trust was a fragile thing, its threads fraying under the pressure of the past. Clara's face twisted, and I knew she was battling ghosts, memories that suffocated rather than comforted. What do you know, Marcus? She pressed. I need to understand what's happening. For Emma? The man with the clipboard seemed to see Clara for the first time, his hardened demeanor softening for just a breath. Is that the child in the ICU? Because we've received troubling intel that puts her in jeopardy, and you need to make a choice right now. Uncertainty morphed into tangible fear, the seconds stretching into eternal moments, and Clara released a shaky exhale. What kind of jeopardy, Jeffrey, he said, the name slicing through the air with the precision of a dagger. He's involved in something much larger than anyone realizes. The initial reports we received, they're just the beginning. Clara's expression contorted as if struck, anger flared within her. I don't even know how he's connected to this illness. Who is he really? The man shifted uneasily, as though the very mention of Jeffrey's name placed invisible chains around him. You don't want to get tangled in this mess, miss. Marcus was dragged into something dangerous. We need him to cooperate, but what about Emma? I interjected, my voice taut with anxiety. She's in critical condition. We don't have the luxury of playing politics right now. Marcus took a step towards us, a flicker of resolve shining in his eyes despite the tremor in his hands. If this is about saving Emma, then we're running out of time. I'll explain everything. Just trust me. The men exchanged wary glances, the tension thickening like fog. We don't have trust to give, one muttered, eyes narrowing as he assessed the unfolding chaos. But we're out of time. As they moved in, my instincts screamed louder than ever. You're not taking him, I declared, stepping firmly between Clara and the advancing group. If it means fighting, then we will fight. For Emma. For Clara, the medics and nurses rushed past us, carrying equipment hurriedly, eyes wide with their own brand of fear, and in that moment, my heart raced with a mix of determination and dread. Each beat echoed a primal instinct to shield my family, but shadows blurred the edges of our path. Now's not the time for heroics, Clara murmured, her expression torn, pulling me back gently but firmly. Max, I can't let them take him. If Jeffrey is pulling strings, then we need to play this smart. Before I could argue, before the room could breathe again, the sound of screeching tires assaulted us from outside, piercing the heavy air like the ringing of a death knell. Suddenly, windows rattled as a commotion erupted on the main entrance, a cacophony of voices crying out in alarm. In the frenzy, Clara's eyes widened, and she held her breath, momentarily lost. What now? She whispered, vulnerable again, the fight draining from her. Suddenly, an unexpected burst of movement came from the crowd, thrumming through the chaos. A figure wove through the room, a familiar silhouette breaking through the tension. But it wasn't Jeffrey. It was Emma, or at least, the apparition of her fragile form, draped in hospital attire, spooling into the chaos, bewildered and wide-eyed. The sight of her sent a shockwave through the room. Her heartbeat seemed to call out, resonating within Clara. Mom. She cried, and suddenly hope flickered vividly amidst the despair, illuminating a path staked with risks and uncertainties. But a flash of danger beefed with distress as the doors swung open wide once more, and this time it wasn't medics or nurses. It was something much darker. Something that would threaten everything we had left. The air thickened with dread, and my heart dropped. Could we really protect Emma? Could we evade the lurking menace? As each second passed, darkness loomed closer, and the narrowing hallway felt like a funnel spiraling us toward an inevitable confrontation. In that moment, I realized, we were all but players in a game we had yet to understand, our fates intertwined in ways we couldn't have foreseen. And my fingers trembled more than ever, not just from fear, but from an awakening. The truth was on the horizon, and it called us forth, whether we were ready or not. The atmosphere in the hospital had transformed into a suffocating tempest, the familiar antiseptic smell gnawing at my senses. As Emma's voice sliced through the chaos, I felt my heart twist painfully in my chest, hope and dread intertwining. I turned to Clara, her expression painted with disbelief and fierce protectiveness. In that instant, I saw the storm brewing within her, a tumultuous swirl of love, fear, and unspoken resolution. Mom. Emma cried again, her small form a beacon of innocence amidst the storm. My instinct surged forward. Emma! I shouted, breaking through the initial shock, every fiber of my being aching to reach her. But just as quickly, shadows emerged from the corners of the room, dark figures encroaching with an authority that felt monstrous. Let her go. Clara's voice erupted, echoing with a strength I'd rarely seen in her as she stepped in front of me, a fierce mother lion guarding her cub. I felt my apprehension blossom into something more potent, an urge to stand with her, to protect the fragile bond we had formed amidst a world clamoring for our sorrows. No. I shouted, my voice trembling with urgency. You can't take her. A wave of white-coated figures erupted from the chaos, forcefully pushing people aside as I realized, this was no longer just about Clara's past, it was about our daughter's present and future. Jeffrey's figure lingered menacingly in the background, his laughter echoing with sinister amusement. The child should have never been involved in the first place. You're meddling in a game far beyond your reach, shut up. Clara screamed, her fury igniting the air between us. This is between Emma and me. You don't get to dictate our fates, yet I could feel my heart plummeting. The urgency grew thick with every heartbeat echoing in my ears. Clara, we need to get Emma out of here. The walls felt like they were closing in, the fear surging within. A painful truth: time was running out, and we were entangled in a perilous game designed to sever us from each other. Emma! I yelled again, desperation clawing at my throat. She stood frozen, her wide eyes searching frantically as she fought to comprehend the chaos unraveling around her. Help is coming. I reassured her, though my own heart quivered. Trust us. I glanced back to Clara, her expression contorted with determination, holding the essence of a warrior. Together, Max, she whispered fervently, her voice barely audible above the clamor. We do this together. Her grip on my hand felt like a lifeline, a thread binding us amidst the plunging abyss. The oppressive figures advanced while the hospital descended into bedlam, voices blurting out commands, panic settling heavily upon our shoulders. Clear the area. They barked, creating an oppressive wall to block our escape. We are conducting an emergency lockdown. In that moment, I made a choice. Clara, get Emma out of here. I'll stall them, I cried, the urgency coursing through my veins. The weight of my words hung above us like a gavel striking down in the face of rising tides. No. She protested, gripping tighter to my hand, her eyes wide with worry. Max, we can't split up. We're stronger together, trust me, I pleaded, the desperation swelling in my chest. I won't let them hurt her. Just get to safety. Promise me. Clara hesitated, and for an agonizing moment, the world seemed to hold its breath, the chaos niggling closer like a hound on the hunt. But then, fierce and relentless, she nodded. Okay. But you come back to us. We turned toward Emma, a detonation of movement erupted in the hallway. Dark figures were closing in, moving with predatory instinct. They had been waiting for this moment, the tension mounting like a storm before the downpour. I felt the universe conspire against USA, grip closing in, squeezing the last bit of hope like a lit match in the wind. Go. I shouted, invoking every ounce of courage as I saw fear twist Emma's face. Go, now. Caught between fear and love, I forced Clara and Emma to take a step back, pushing them toward safety through the throng of panicked bystanders. I turned toward Jeffrey's lingering shadow, the darkness he exuded creeping forward like an unwelcome fog. You won't stop us, I declared, my voice echoing with newfound determination. Such noble intentions, Jeffrey replied, his voice coated in mockery. But you're terribly outmatched. You can't fight against those who determine the rules of this game. His words echoed ominously as he melted back into the shadows. I watched Clara and Emma disappear down the hallway, their figures blurring into the swarm of frantic nurses and doctors, a beat of hope pushing me forward against the tide of adversity. But just as I resolved to stand ground, the darkness pulled taut at my sides, figures advancing with steely determination, their presence heavy like night. I was losing my footing as the weight of uncertainty pressed against me, my heart racing in time with the blaring alarms signaling a race for survival. Get away from them, I shouted, bearing every shred of my resolve as I braced myself against the oncoming tide. But the challenge ahead transformed into tangible despair as the weight of Jeffrey's world pressed down. Yet, just as I felt the tide rising to submerge me whole, the commotion from the entrance shifted. A fresh wave, filled not with shadows but with warmth and strength, broke through the chaos. Flashing blue lights illuminated the room, followed by a new group of figures whose presence felt like sunlight seeping through clouds. Security personnel surged into the fray, a gust of new power reshaping the battlefield. Out of the way, they commanded, their voices guides through the encroaching darkness. In an instant, the creatures of malevolence fell back, the grip of chaos loosening as I fell into a whirlwind of chaotic jubilation. The tides had turned, new hope arriving to breathe life into ominous air. Stand down, barked a firm voice, the authority slicing through the tension as they assessed the situation unfolding. Emergency protocols activated. Everyone, clear the area. As the hospital sprang into new motion, I felt the grasp of fear begin to lift, hope fluttering alive as I turned my focus back to Clara and Emma. They had to be safe, Max. I called, adrenaline igniting my limbs as I pushed through the remnants of chaos, my heart racing with every step. Let's go! We have to protect them. Finally, I burst through the doorway, stepping into the hallway, where Clara was cradling Emma, both their eyes wide with uncertainty and relief as they stood, a perfect picture of resilience against the looming storm. Together, Clara murmured, her words a lifeline. I reached for their hands, pulling them into our circle, a family forged of strength standing against the shadows. As the darkness ebbed away, replaced by the vibrant current of life, I could see the path before us illuminated, the shadows finally retreating within the recesses of the hospital. I clenched Clara's hand tightly, sensing the surge of hope push forward, carrying us toward a new beginning. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, the air felt lighter as the sun poured through the windows the storm had abated. The shelter of safety wrapped around us as the intensity of the past faded, replaced by a fragile but undeniable bond drawn from the tumult we had faced together. In that moment, brandishing the strength of love and unity forged through fire, we stood together resilient, defiant, and once again at the cusp of hope. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together, I whispered, grounding myself into the possibility of tomorrow. Together, Clara echoed softly, her eyes glistening brightly as we stepped into the light, a new dawn breaking before us. And as we continued down the halls, the memory of the storm no longer haunting but empowering, I found myself whispering a silent promise into the universe, that love, no matter how tangled or shadowed by the past, would carve a path of light through the towering darkness. My mother's voice echoed within me, a long-forgotten melody. In the end, it is about family. Whatever it takes, love will always lead you home.